The air within the courtroom was thicker than ever before, as if sorrow had taken a seat amongst them. The wooden benches groaned as individuals leaned forward, anticipating the truth to which they had all come. Cameras rolled, whispers hummed, and in the middle of it all sat Robyn Brown. White, shaking, and attempting to hide behind the mask that had finally begun to crumble. She had once been the favorite wife. The gentle smile, soft voice, and pledge of peace when the family was in shambles. But now that smile was gone, her lips trembled, her eyes puffy from tears. The night before, the walls closing in on her seemed to suffocate. Kody Brown sat a few feet away from him, his jaw set, his golden curls mussed, his hands clenched on the table in front of him. Not in rage, but in fear. For once, even he didn't appear to know what to say. The judge cleared his throat. "Mrs. Brown," he said quietly, "are you prepared to tell your truth today?" The words hung in the air like a blade waiting to drop. Robyn opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Her throat burned, her heart pounded so loudly she could barely hear herself think. All she could feel were the eyes, Janelle's cold stare, Christine's disgust, Meri's quiet disappointment, and Kody's silence. This wasn't just another argument. This was years of love, lies and loyalty, unraveling under oath. The family torn apart seated beside her. Christine and Janelle sat for the first time in years. But behind her they sat, their faces altered now, older, wiser, exhausted, yet the solidarity which suffering forged between them was indomitable. She whispered to Janelle, "She still believes she's the victim." Janelle nodded. "She always did." A tear tracked down Christine's cheek. "After all we gave up, all the hopes, all the vows, and she gets to sit there and act as though she did it for love." The bailiff ordered silence. Cameras swiveled. Even Meri, who had long since ceased to struggle, raised her head, her arms crossed defensively, her eyes brimming with quiet judgment. For years the fans of Sister Wives had witnessed this family disintegrate piece by piece. And yet, nobody, not even the people sitting in that courtroom, thought the breaking point would be Robyn. The whisper that started it all, it had begun months prior. Janelle had been the first to realize something was not quite right. Their joint account, the one that had held them together through years of shooting, relocation, and reconstruction, had unauthorized transfers. They thought it was an error at first, maybe a charge, perhaps a payment for taxes. But when Janelle investigated further, she discovered something that gave her a heart attack. Large transfers. Consistent ones. Money quietly being transferred out, always into the same private account. She didn't believe it at first. She wished to. Then she read the name. Robyn L. Brown. Janelle said nothing at first. She couldn't. She sat at the computer screen, her eyes fixed, hands quivering. This was the woman who had wept over loyalty, who had talked of unity, who claimed she desired peace among the sister wives, and she was the one who was taking from all of them. Janelle closed the laptop, took a deep breath, and whispered to herself, "Not again. Please, not again." She tried to ignore it. For weeks, she said nothing. She hoped it was a misunderstanding. She hoped Robyn would explain. But instead, Robyn and Kody bought new furniture, new cars, and finally, a massive, beautiful home. And that's when Christine found out. Christine's breaking point. Christine had fought for years. She was the first one to walk away, leaving decades of hurt behind. She felt free. But when she looked at that house, the mansion Robyn and Kody purchased proclaiming they couldn't assist her or Janelle in moving forward, something within her broke. She said we couldn't afford new houses. Christine spat. She said we were out of money, that Kody was buried in debt. And then she goes and buys a $900,000 house. Her words had rung out through the courtroom now, cold and shaking. "She lied to us," Christine told the judge, turning to confront her. "She lied to all of us." Gasps spread through the crowd. Even the reporters who were present to witness drama had their heads thrust forward, mouths agape. Robyn buried her face in her hands, shaking her shoulders. "I didn't do it to hurt anyone," she wailed. "I swear I didn't. Kody told us that we needed a safe place for the kids. But Christine interrupted her before she could complete her sentence. Safe home? She snarled. Or safe secrets? Robyn? Her insults stung more than a slap. The judge attempted to soothe the courtroom, but it came too late. Decades of anger were gushing like water. Janelle rose from her seat, a fierce and shaking voice. You informed us that we couldn't purchase land. You told the family that they could not afford to complete the houses on Coyote Pass, and all along, you sat in that mansion, living in comfort while we struggled to make ends meet. Robyn glanced up, her face smeared with tears. You don't get it, Kody, don't even think about blaming him. Janelle cut in. You managed the money. You managed him. We all know it. Kody pounded his hand on the table. That's all I can take. Everyone held still. Even the judge ceased talking. Kody's voice was husky, menacing. This isn't about manipulation. This is about misunderstanding. Robyn didn't take anything. She was under my command. But as he spoke, his voice broke. And everybody caught it. Christine breathed deeply. So you knew. Kody's gaze met hers, and for the first time he had no response. Robyn's tears and the truth beneath them. Robyn's shoulders trembled as she attempted to justify herself. I just wanted to save my children, she breathed. You all abandoned him. You all turned your backs. I didn't want to lose everything too. I thought that if we had a house, if we had a safe place, we would make it through. Her words vacillated between guilt and excuse. Meri broke the silence at last, her tone soft but incising. Not to guard your family, Robyn. To guard yourself. Robyn faced her, weeping harder now. You think that? You think I wanted this, that I wanted to be here? Alone, disliked, blamed for everything? Meri glared back icily. You wanted control. And you had it. The courtroom was so still that even the hum of the ceiling lights sounded too loud. Robyn wiped her tears and mouthed. I did what I thought was right. But the hurt was irreparable. Nobody trusted her anymore. The weight of betrayal. Christine sat down and took in the others. Janelle's fists clenched. Meri's icy glare. Robyn's shaking body. And Kody's vacant expression. She understood something significant. This trial wasn't about finances. It was about honesty. For years they had smiled in front of the camera, pretending to be together, pretending that love could coexist beneath one roof. But the smiles covered up secrets, jealousy and fear. And today, all that was coming out. The judge rubbed his temples, sighing deeply. This court is not intended to resolve personal vendettas, he said wearily, but firmly. But the evidence brought will decide if these financial moves were done in honesty or deception. He paused. Mrs. Brown, be warned. If the money was removed without complete agreement, there will be repercussions. Robyn nodded slowly, but her eyes were glassy, hollow. The final glance. Kody shifted uncomfortably, gazing at her, not as a wife, not even as a friend, but as a man understanding that all he thought he owned had already been taken. Their eyes met briefly, and something unsaid flowed between them. Fear, guilt, perhaps love, but above all, regret. Robyn looked away, muttering, I never wanted it to end like this. Christine breathed unevenly. Neither did we. And just like that, the room grew quiet once more. No one said a word. No one stirred. The truth hung out there now, suspended among them like smoke after an explosion. The sister wives who had shared it all now shared only one thing: heartbreak. And when the judge adjourned to recess, the cameras focused in on Robyn's tear-stained face. The lady who said she wanted only peace, but instead was the cause of it all to crumble. Recess was over, but no one had wandered far. The tension within that courtroom was too dense, too choking. Even the air was charged with it as everyone settled back into their seats. Robyn wiped at her face, struggling to smooth her hair with shaking hands. But it was too late. The tears had made streaks on her cheeks. Her mascara smeared like welts. She glanced over at Kody, hoping for some measure of comfort. But he wouldn't meet her eyes, not even once. Christine sat on the other side of the room with Janelle, both of them whispering softly, their faces chiseled from anger and shock. Meri sat in silence, her arms folded across her chest. She didn't have to say a word. Her silence was louder than any accusation. And at the back of the courtroom, the cameras rolled again. The crew had been instructed to remain silent. No commentary, no emotional responses. But everyone knew they were capturing history. This was more than just another brawl. This was the explosion of all that the Brown family had ever stood for. The call to testify. The judge rapped his gavel on the table. "We will now get started," he stated. "Mrs. Janelle Brown, come forward and take the stand." Janelle rose, her pace measured but determined. She seemed to have been waiting for this moment for years. As she sat down, she breathed deeply, glancing briefly at Christine before fixing her gaze on the judge. "Mrs. Brown," the lawyer started, "can you inform the court when you first became aware of irregularities in the family finances?" Janelle nodded. "It was a year ago. I was paying bills for my own place and saw that our joint account, the one that Kody and all of us used to pay family bills, had unauthorized withdrawals that didn't ring any bells. They weren't small ones. They were big, frequent, and labeled with cryptic descriptions such as housing insecurity." "And did you bring this up with anyone?" the attorney asked. Janelle let out a breath. "Not initially. I didn't want to accuse anyone of anything without evidence. But when the account continued to get drained, and I saw the history associated with Robyn's name, I couldn't just turn a blind eye anymore." She spoke to Robyn now, her voice shaking, not out of fear, but pain. "Kody told me we were broke. Robyn, Kody said he couldn't assist me with my property taxes. We would all have to sacrifice," he said. "I sold land to keep current on my payments. And you were furnishing and buying chandeliers for a mansion." Gasps filled the room once again. Robyn shook her head back and forth. "It's not what it seems like," she exclaimed. "That house wasn't only for me. It was for all of us. For the children. For Kody's vision." Janelle's laughter was harsh and bitter. "All of us? You mean the two of you? Because I don't recall an invitation." Christine steps forward. Christine jumped up, not able to remain quiet any longer. "She's right," she said, moving toward the front. "We were all in fear, fearing the loss of everything. And we were struggling to keep the family intact, while Robyn was ensuring she had a safety net." The judge waved at Christine to come and sit in the witness chair, and she did. Her hands trembled ever so slightly, but her eyes blazed with intensity. "I was the one who demanded openness," she whispered. "When I left Kody, I wanted harmony, not vengeance. But when I saw how Robyn and Kody were living, while pretending the family had nothing, I knew the truth. It wasn't about money. It was about control." Beal's attorney nodded. "Control in what way, Mrs. Brown?" Christine stood up to face Robyn. She inserted herself at the center of it all. Kody's attention, the money, the story, all decisions went through her. Every check, every dollar, every conversation regarding property, they all had to go through Robyn. And if you dared to question her, suddenly you were against the family. Her voice broke. "We thought her lies because we wanted peace. But she was never seeking peace. She was constructing her own kingdom." The room fell quiet once more. Robyn was sobbing now, her shoulders shaking violently. "I did not want to lose him," she whispered. "I did not want to lose Kody. Everything I did was to preserve what we had left." Christine's response came out like a knife. "You didn't save him, Robyn. You trapped him." Kody's turn. The judge's gaze shifted to Kody. "Mr. Brown," he declared sternly, "you'll have your turn to defend yourself. Please come forward to the stand." Kody looked uncertain, but eventually stood. He adjusted his jacket, smoothed his hair, and headed for the stand as a man who knew he couldn't bluff his way out of this one. When he sat down, the lawyer didn't lose a second. "Mr. Brown, did you know that your wife, Robyn, moved more than $200,000 from the family account they shared into her personal savings?" Kody's jaw clenched. "I knew about the transfers, yes. But they were for family purposes." "Family purposes," the lawyer persisted. "So did Christine, Janelle, or Meri approve of these transactions?" Kody hesitated. His silence was telling. Christine crossed her arms. "You always maintained that honesty was your cornerstone, Kody. What happened to that?" He finally breathed out. "I thought I was saving everyone. I thought combining the finances would make us survive. Robyn was supposed to take care of it, not keep it." Robyn glanced up, her voice cracking. You instructed me to. You said I should transfer it for safety purposes. Kody spun sharply around to her. Not into your own account, Robyn. The courtroom exploded in whispers. The judge had to pound his gavel to get everyone quiet. For the first time, the fissures between Kody and Robyn were visible. Live, on tape, in front of the world. The emotional breakdown. Robyn hid her face in her hands. You don't understand. She wept. I did it for love. All of it. I thought if I gave Kody what he required, if I showed him I was faithful, he would never abandon me like the rest. Her words shook with raw emotion, ringing through the still courtroom. I saw him lose Christine. I saw him wander away from Janelle. I watched Meri disappear. And I thought, if I could just be solid, he'd remain. But he didn't love the house. He didn't love the money. She paused, her voice catching on her words. He just stopped loving me too. Even Christine looked down. No matter how everything had turned out, it was impossible not to sense Robyn's broken heart. The judge cleared his throat, visibly moved but composed. Mrs. Brown, regardless of intent, these actions had consequences. The evidence shows clear transfers of shared assets. Do you take responsibility for those decisions? Robyn nodded slowly. Yes, she whispered. I take all of it. Meri's final words. Just when everybody thought it was done, Meri got up. She'd said nothing all day. Not a word. But when she did, her voice was level, almost otherworldly. I lost my marriage before any of you, she said gently. I've witnessed what occurs when trust dies. But this is not just about money or love. This is about manipulation. And Robyn, you manipulated us all. Even him. Robyn gazed up at her, eyes puffy and bloodshot. Meri, I never meant to hurt you. Meri shook her head. You didn't hurt me. You hurt yourself. You based your security on lies. And now you're sitting here watching it fall apart. The judge nodded at Meri, indicating that her words had been recorded. But her words hovered in the air like smoke. Unignorable. The moment of truth. As the testimony was completed, the judge ordered a quick recess before making his initial comments. Kody never even glanced at anyone. He just sat there, eyes cast downward, shaking with his hands. Christine and Janelle spoke softly, both spent from the tempest that had raged. Meri left the courtroom, her heels clattering down the hallway. And Robyn? She sat alone at the table. Her tears had evaporated, but her eyes were hollow, like a woman who'd lost all that had ever meant anything. The cameras closed in for the shot, capturing the stillness of the ruin on her face. For years she'd been the face of loyalty, the woman who said she was what kept the family intact. But now everyone could see that her loyalty had always been fear, and her fear had killed them all. As the courtroom lights faded and individuals started to exit, Christine turned once more to glance at her. You always wanted to be the last one standing. Robyn, she whispered. Now you are. Robyn did not answer. She simply gazed at the vacant seat next to her, Kody's seat, and finally understood what she'd actually lost. The courtroom sank into a chilling hush after Janelle's dramatic testimony. Robyn remained still at the defense table, her skin whitened, her hands shaking as they clutched the edge of the wooden table. The camera lights over her head seemed to sear through her, laying bare every secret she had ever attempted to keep hidden. Christine glanced at her. No fury now, only heartbreak. Robyn, she said softly, you owe us the truth. Not the truth you gave Kody. Not the truth you gave the cameras. The truth. Robyn's lip trembled. She tried to speak, but her voice broke into a whisper. You wouldn't understand. Meri, who had remained quiet throughout most of the testimony, finally spoke up. She was speaking in a low, trembling voice. Then help us understand, Robyn. Because for years, we stood beside you while you played the victim. We thought you were protecting the family. But it turns out, you were protecting yourself. Robyn turned toward them, eyes shining with tears. The judge sat still, letting the moment play out. The entire courtroom leaned forward, waiting. I was frightened. Robyn started, her voice too quiet. After all that had occurred, after all the yelling, the cameras, the children crying, I figured that if I didn't cling to something, I would lose everything. Kody informed me the other wives were envious. He explained they wanted to destroy what we had. Christine's expression grew dark. You figured you would destroy us first? Robyn flinched as if the words were a physical blow. No, I didn't want to hurt anyone. But when Kody said the family funds weren't safe with everyone spending, he told me to move some money into another account. He said it was just temporary, just to protect it from the arguments. Gasps echoed again through the courtroom. The judge lifted a brow, his pen frozen above the notepad. Janelle's voice shook with incredulity. You're telling me, the missing funds, the ones we were assured didn't exist, you stashed away? Robyn nodded hesitantly. Not for myself. Not initially. But when it worsened, when everyone began walking away, Kody told us we needed to consider the future. He said if everyone walked away, then at least we'd still have something to cling to. Christine stood, her anger bubbling over. Something to hold on to. You mean the house you constructed while my children slept on floors? The house you told me was for the families but never once invited anyone but you into. Robyn's tears finally spilled. She clutched a tissue, weeping openly. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was holding on to what was left of us. Meri shook her head slowly, looking down. You weren't rescuing the family, Robyn. You were rescuing your reputation. Those words stung more than anything else that day. Robyn stood stock still. Her sobs stopped as she fell silent. The prosecutor rose, walking slowly before the jury. Mrs. Brown, are you acknowledging that you withheld financial resources from your family, as publicly as you profess to be struggling? Robyn flinched, glancing at Kody. But Kody's face was a stone. No comfort, no emotion, just distance, cold. Yes, Robyn breathed eventually. But I wasn't alone. Kody instructed me what to do. The room burst into murmurs. The judge even leaned back in his chair, eyes narrowing. Christine whirled around at Kody. You manipulated her. You manipulated all of us. You let her take the fall, while you stood behind her crying. Kody's jaw clamped. Don't spin it, Christine. I did what I needed to do for this family. Meri slapped her hand down on the table. No, Kody, you did what you needed to do for you. The gavel came down. Bang, order. The judge barked. If this keeps up, I'll have to clear the courtroom. But too late. The truth was out. Years of tension, silence, and control had burst in one explosive moment. Robyn rubbed her tears away, her throat rough. You all think I wanted this. The battles, the aloneness, the shame. I didn't. I believed him. I believed every word he told me. That you hated me. That you'd steal everything if I didn't defend us. Christine's tone softened, but the pain was evident. We didn't hate you, Robyn. We hated what you became. What he made you. And you let him. One tear escaped down Meri's cheek. For the first time in years, all the women weren't divided. They were united. Not by love, but by the pain one man and one secret had caused. Robyn faced Kody once more. You said they'd kill me if they knew. You said we were doing the right thing. Kody did not meet her gaze. He just said, I did what needed to be done. That was all it took. The final strand of devotion Robyn had for him snapped into place. She slumped back into her seat, barely breathing, and asked, so why does doing the right thing feel so wrong? The courtroom was silent once more. Cameras zoomed in, capturing every tear, every shattered look. The family that had once taught unity on national TV now stood in shambles in front of the world. The voice of the judge sliced through the quiet, strong and deep. Mrs. Brown, I implore you to consider your next words. Well, because what you say next could decide not only your future, but everyone's. Robyn looked around, at Janelle's disappointment, Christine's fury, Meri's heartbreak, and Kody's cold detachment. Then she took a deep breath. Then I'll tell the truth, she said quietly. All of it. The courtroom collectively inhaled. And in that moment, every secret, every manipulation, every quiet lie that had kept the Browns' world spinning was about to be exposed. The storm hadn't ended. It had just begun. The air was heavy. You could practically see the tension slithering along the room. Robyn's final words, I'll tell the truth. All of it, hung like a storm cloud waiting to unleash. Cameras zoomed in. All eyes were on her. Even the judge leaned forward a fraction, knowing that what was going to occur would alter everything. Robyn's voice was shaking initially, but now it contained something different. Resolve. When I came into this family, She started off, I was told it was all founded on love, trust, and faith. But it wasn't the case. It was founded on control. And Kody, he controlled every single thing. Kody's head jerked up. That's enough, Robyn, he said curtly, his voice slicing through the air like a knife. But Robyn didn't let up. Tears sparkled in her eyes, but her voice became more forceful. No, Kody, it's not enough. For years I did whatever you instructed me to. I turned against the women who were trying to help me. I listened when you told me Christine was jealous, that Janelle didn't care about family, that Meri was weak. You convinced me I was saving the family, when really all I was doing was tearing it apart. Gasps reverberated throughout the courtroom. Christine put her hand over her mouth, weeping openly. Janelle's jaw worked. Even Meri, who had vowed not to shed tears, wiped a tear from her cheek discreetly. The judge held up a hand. Mrs. Brown, are you alleging that Mr. Brown forced you to conceal money from the rest of the family? Robyn nodded. Yes, every document, every account, every falsehood. He told me what to do. He told me what to conceal. He said that if the other wives found out, they'd leave him and take all our possessions. Kody's fists clenched. His face reddened. You're distorting the truth. You pleaded with me to save you. You said you were terrified. Robyn faced him, voice trembling but fierce. I was afraid, Kody, afraid of you. The whole courtroom came to a standstill. The silence was oppressive. Christine got up slowly, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. It was true. All those nights you made us not to ask questions. All that you were defending him. Fear. Robyn nodded, barely able to hold herself together. He made me believe that loyalty meant silence. He made me believe that love meant obedience. Kody slammed his hand on the table. You're lying. The gavel struck. Bang. Order. The judge demanded again. Mr. Brown, control yourself. But Kody refused to listen. He gestured to the women. You all wanted this. You turned her against me. You've been trying to destroy me from the beginning. Christine slowly shook her head. No, Kody. You destroyed yourself when you fell out of love with us, and fell in love with control. Robyn's tears flowed unchecked now. She addressed the judge again. I have papers, records of the transfers. The money didn't all go to our home. It went into accounts in the name of Kody, ones none of the wives knew anything about. The courtroom broke out in whispers once more. The prosecutor's eyes opened wide. Are you willing to present those records in court, Mrs. Brown? Robyn blinked, then nodded. Yes, I brought everything. An officer stepped forward, taking the folder from her shaking fingers. The judge studied the documents, brows furrowed. Mr. Brown, he said slowly, these records indicate big withdrawals out of shared family money, diverted to private accounts. Can you explain this? Kody's voice cracked for the first time. That money was to keep the family from making bad choices. I was the patriarch. I had the authority to control our finances. Christine stood, flames blazing in her eyes. No, Kody, you had the power, not the right. You made decisions for all of us, and left the rest of us to clean up the mess. Meri's voice trembled as she continued. You told us we were broke, told us we couldn't afford vacations with the family, or even decent presents for the kids, when you were putting away money we trusted you with. Kody glanced around, only then realizing that everyone in that room was against him now. Not even Robyn. She wiped away her tears and said in a whisper, I thought defending you would defend all of us. But I was mistaken. I was defending a lie. The judge's voice grew serious. Considering the testimony, we will be looking very closely at these discrepancies in finances. But it appears this case is not about money. It's about betrayal, and the price of silence. Kody slumped back, defeated. The man who had ruled a household with authority now seemed smaller, his shoulders weighed down by guilt, perhaps just the burden of being exposed. Christine gazed at Robyn for the last time. You should have told us earlier, she whispered. You could have prevented all of this before it destroyed us. Robyn nodded, her voice shaking. I know, I was too afraid to lose him. But in not losing him, I lost all of you. Meri touched Robyn's hand slowly, laying one of her hands on top of Robyn's. It was a still, surprising touch. A touch of forgiveness, perhaps, or at least of understanding. We've all lost something, she said softly. But perhaps this is how we begin to heal. For the first time, Robyn glanced at her sister wives, genuinely looked at them, and saw not adversaries, not enemies, but the family she had lost. The judge ordered a brief recess, but nobody budged. Cameras snapped, hushed tones echoed through the room, and Kody remained still as the world he constructed, the persona he maintained, came crashing down around him. Was Robyn prepared to leave the stand? She muttered under her breath. The truth doesn't set you free. It just makes you face what you've done. And with that she walked by Kody, without looking back. Because for the first time in years, Robyn Brown wasn't hiding behind someone else's words. She was finally speaking for herself. The courtroom doors opened once more, after a tense 30-minute recess. Cameras clicked, reporters murmured, and the whole world waited to discover how the Brown family's years of secret lies and heartache would ultimately conclude. Robyn slowly made her way back to her seat, her pale but firm face. The crying was over now, replaced by something profound: acceptance. Kody sat next to his lawyer, his eyes empty, his formerly defiant look exchanged for quiet defeat. Christine, Janelle, and Meri occupied the chairs across from her, their faces a combination of anger, sadness, and something else, relief. When the judge entered, the entire courtroom rose, bang. The gavel struck, echoing through the air like thunder. Court is now back in session. The judge announced firmly, "We've reviewed the evidence presented by Mrs. Brown and examined the financial records in question. The findings are deeply concerning." Kody swallowed hard. The sound of papers rustling was the only noise in the room. During the last 2 years, the judge went on, significant amounts were transferred from family accounts, money intended for common expenses, and the well-being of the children, to private holdings controlled by Mr. Kody Brown alone, with the help of Mrs. Robyn Brown. Gasps spread through the room. The judge's voice became heavier. Based on what was seen, this court finds that the actions taken constituted deception and breaches of the understandings entered into within the family financial trust. Nevertheless, due to Mrs. Brown's cooperation and proof of coercion and manipulation, she will not be criminally charged. She will instead act as a witness in any subsequent proceeding against Mr. Brown. Christine clasped her hands tightly. Janelle exhaled deeply, as if she'd been holding her breath for years. Meri closed her eyes and whispered, "It's finally over." Kody stood suddenly, shouting, "This is ridiculous. You're all just trying to destroy me. Robyn, tell them the truth." Robyn didn't even look at him. She spoke quietly, almost tenderly. "I already did, Kody." He came to a standstill. For the first time, Kody knew there was no one to defend him. No one to hear the tale he'd been telling for so long. The judge rapped the gavel again. "That's enough, Mr. Brown. Sit down." Kody gradually collapsed into his chair, his face white and exhausted. The judge went on. "The court decrees that all the remaining joint property shall be divided in equal proportions among the wives and their children. Any remaining money involved will be put on hold until the investigation into finance is finalized." And then, after a moment of silence, the judge said quietly, "This case is not just a lesson in law, but in loyalty. When trust has been lost, even family becomes strangers." And with that the gavel fell for the final time. Bang. As the courtroom cleared, Christine remained by the doors to the hallway. She glanced over at Robyn, standing solitary in front of the bench with shaking hands, clutching her purse tightly. Christine paused, then approached her. "You made the right decision today," she said softly. Robyn searched up, tears brimming in her eyes once more. "It doesn't feel like it. It feels like I lost everything." Christine shook her head softly. "No, Robyn, you lost the falsehoods. Sometimes that's the only way to begin living again." Meri approached them, her voice gentle but exhausted. "We can't erase what's been done, but perhaps we can cease pretending we ever were okay." Janelle moved closer as well. The truth stung Robyn, but at least now we all know where we stand. For one moment, a small, fragile one, the 4 women stood together once again. Not as sister wives, not as competitors, but as survivors of something that almost killed them all. Kody exited the courthouse last. By himself. Photographers descended on him, news reporters yelling questions. But he didn't respond to any of them. He just kept moving. His head bent, his world falling apart behind him. Later that night, as the sun dipped below Flagstaff, Robyn sat out on her porch, gazing at the mountains. The air was too still. Too still. For the first time in years, she didn't have Kody's voice in her ear dictating what to say, what to feel, and whom to trust. She remembered her children, of the sister wives she'd envied, then betrayed, then confronted with reality. The tears returned, but this time they weren't tears of guilt. They were tears of release. Her phone vibrated. It was Christine, sending a text. Healing doesn't begin with forgiveness. It begins with truth. You did that today. Rest easy. Robyn read it twice, then placed the phone down, releasing a long, shaking breath. She glanced up at the waning orange sky and whispered, perhaps now it's really done. For the first time in a long while, she didn't feel like the bad guy. She felt like a person who'd finally stopped running. The camera would cut to black there, a hauntingly hopeful conclusion. The courtroom was vacant, the family shattered, but in the quiet something new emerged. Not reconciliation, but liberty. Because the truth finally had been told. And though it destroyed everything, it was the only way to resurrect.